Hi everyone, this is Diane. Today we're going to take a look at the other 5 of the uppercase publications of the Encyclopedia of Inspiration. I showed you 5 already and you guys really seem to enjoy it, and that made me happy. So today we're going to look at the last 5 that I own, and I believe I went to the website so that I could link it in the last video, and I looked at the books, and I didn't see anything new that I hadn't seen before, I don't think, but there were, I don't know, 2 or 3 or maybe 4 that I don't own. So I have 10. I don't know how many there are altogether because I didn't really pay attention, but there was a couple there, at least 2 or 3 that I don't have, and I'm not interested in. So without further ado, let's take a look. We have Printmaker here. Inky Creative Success, it says. And this is thinner than the other books. And I haven't looked at this one very much. I did notice on the website that this book is out of print, but they do have a spot where you can express interest in purchasing one if they do a reprint, but they have to have enough interest. Look at that. This is with their dust jacket still on. So they have a dust jacket plus this little narrow wrap that goes even around the dust jacket. But I took all that off and I just have the spine of the book on mine. And they're on the TV stand in my living room, all lined up with the speakers that I use for my music. They're all together on that TV stand, and I just love having these spines all lined up on that so I can see them. I'm not interested in printmaking, but I am interested in the results of printmaking. I think we all are, all of us that are creative and like to use ephemera for making our crafts, because there are so many different types of prints. I'm sure we'd be interested in some of them, right? And look at this one. She has, looks like printing on fabrics and then chopping them up and slow stitching them. See, she did stitching around there and did little French knots inside. So this is something we could take and use in junk journals. I like this. There's some printing there on fabric, and then she's embroidering on it. I do like these sorts of things with the typography on them. Let's look at some of those. Posters, advertising. The interesting characters there. white on craft. That would be a fun thing to do with white embossing powder on craft paper. So that gives me ideas for ephemera to make. So I think these are the carved blocks for stamping. Oh, look at that. Ice cream wrappers. I had one like that. I had some like that, and I think I had those too. Or maybe that was a digital, but I did have the bags of these. These are match boxes. We don't really think about all the graphics that go into the advertising packaging that we have. Wow, that's beautiful. That's fun to look at. Next is Quilted. This one got bent. My cover got bent. I'm sure there will be beautiful images in here because, at least for me, I love quilting, and I'm sure a lot of you do too. I just love looking at a stack of fabrics that coordinates. Look at those line drawings on that fabric. That's interesting. Wonder if she designed those. Allison Glass. Oh, that's pretty. There is a swan on that star quilt and its reflection. Gorgeous. There's a gentleman quilter. The vivid colors. Beautiful designs, intricate. Patience is required. I have made quilted pillows, table runners, placemats, even a quilted cat, stuffed cat that I gave to my sister who loved cats. But I know I am not good enough to do a full quilt, or patient enough. Maybe that's the problem. I've done baby quilts. My very first quilt project was a baby quilt I made when I was expecting my first baby, my son, and I was all of 21 years old when he was born. I love the pastel colors of these. Look at the little lamb. That is darling. I really love these colors. Nadra Ridgeway. Look at that pile of fabrics. So I would want to take this picture to a fabric store and try to buy a piece that matches these colors and the feel of them, the prints and, you know, little flowers and little stripes. That's just so beautiful. She made strawberries here. Look at those colors. I did cut up an old quilt that was coming apart, and it had the stuffing coming out, the batting was coming out through holes. And I cut out a teddy bear, a jointed teddy bear, and made it. I don't think it's down here. I'm not sure where it is right now. But I didn't quilt it, I just cut up a quilt. I used to make furry jointed teddy bears, and some of them I made clothes for, and then I sold them. So there we go. My quilt is calling and I must go. There's the quilt one. This one is rag and pulp. So this is making, fabricating, exploring. Looks like marbled paper and handmade paper, pleated paper, just some fibers up there it looks like. Let's take a look and see. Flower made out of paper. This is handmade paper. So this must be the mold for making that size of paper. Oh, wow. These are incredible. I don't know how that's done. Paper basketry. This reminds me of those woven pot holders that we used to make. Look at that big vat. She does collage with paper. It looks like business envelopes, lined paper, some other piece of stamp, and then she adds some leaves. So this is right up our alley for journal makers, rag and pulp. So it's volume, must be the R. So here we go. Look at these little, just little pieces of paper, and she did a column with those little scraps. Then she added the botanical pieces and made a bird out of some sort of material up there. But just the column of scraps is a good idea. This is like a, what do you call it, telescope or something? So it has a big hole, and then each hole gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and you can see all the way through. So this looks like she's making and or dyeing paper. Probably both. Yeah, she's making paper, but she has to color it. She put designs on it through a stencil. Washi. So real washi tape is from Japan. It's what we call washi tape. In the scrapbooking world, probably isn't really washi tape. Maybe some of it is. This talks about washi. Doesn't say washi tape, but washi. Look at the beautiful papers. The texture in there is just gorgeous. These are different patterns of marbling. It's quite a process to marble paper. Look at the intricate stitching on that spine, those spines. I would not want to do that. She makes boxes and books. This is like handmade paper with lots of bits in it. Vases made out of handmade paper. I think in this collection of 5 books, the last one, because I'm going alphabetically, the last one will be my very favorite one in this batch. Look at all these animals made with paper. That's incredible. So she makes everyday objects out of paper. There's a pair of Mary Jane shoes, or I don't know if they're Mary Janes, but they're shoes with a strap. Cup, saucer, and spoon. Sewing machine, complete with a compartment and some things inside. Bobbin and scissors and a needle pack. That's so cool. And the wheel, the turning wheel. And a camera, telephone, typewriter. So interesting. Pleated paper. Flowers made out of paper. Oh, wow. So lush. Woven papers. Looks like he drew on them or printed on them. Very graphic looking. That's beautiful. Sculptured paper, sculpted. Oh, wow. Incredible. Those are cute. Look at all the writ dyes she's got. it's a stack of books, and the papers are all handmade paper, and they go right to the edge of the book, or even a little bit beyond, so they can be seen. I was going to say shown, so they can be seen. Beautiful papers for end papers and maybe covers. Gorgeous. There's some bone folders. Can you see all the detail in that? I don't know what she's doing. Strips of paper. There, you can see it more up close there. So it's just rolled up paper or just strips, but they're standing up, so they're 3D. The parrots. So I don't have yarn, thread, string, ceramics. They're the only ones in this paper, in this pile that I don't have, but this isn't all of them. We have Stitch Illo. Love this one. This is, embroidery stitches and etc. So this is a quilted project, and it is covered in slow stitching. For a while, one of my nieces was doing, she's a good artist. She doesn't do it for a living, but she does beautiful drawings. But she was doing embroidery, like she just made up designs or like did an embroidery picture of their dog that they owned at the time and things like that. So when I got this book, I took it out to my sister's house, and Danielle was there, or I left it there for Annette to show to Danielle. I don't remember, but she really, really liked it, enjoyed looking at it. Now she's married and they have their own dog. They don't have a child yet, but she doesn't, as far as I know, she doesn't do the embroidery stuff anymore. But hopefully she'll get back into it, because she was very good at it. She didn't like know how to embroider, she just did stitches. Just tried to make them look like what she wanted it to look like. That's gorgeous. That's made with a thick yarn, or thick floss. It's not thick for yarn, but it's thick for floss. Embroidering on tennis rackets. That's funny. Look at these portraits. All the colors in there. She covered the faces. That's strange. There's Dolly. Postmistress Sarah Blake. There's Frida Kahlo. looks like David Bowie and Prince, and I don't know who that is. Embroidered grocery items, quilted. It's like there's fabric and then embroidery on it. That's a famous painting. Very fun. I've heard of Kelly Mae Krentz. I thought she was a collage artist, but maybe she does textiles too. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. I know I've heard of her. Those are beautiful sketches. And then I suppose she's going to embroider on top of that. Or maybe she designs fabrics. So this looks like pieces of fabric stitched down, but there's lots of stitching on top of it. Look at the raccoon, that's cute. You see them all in that little box in the drawers. They're so adorable. This must be the fairy tale of the 7 sisters. And the story involved 7 swans who actually turned out to be princes who had been enchanted into being swans. So maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like the men were swans at night and the girls were swans by day. I'm not sure if I have that right. And they didn't know that the other was really human. I don't remember. If you remember that story and I have it all wrong, just ignore me. My husband used to watch a movie with Michelle Pfeiffer, and I think it was Rutger Hauer, called Lady Wolf. And she was cursed, so that they were cursed. He was Lady Hawk. That's what it was, Lady Hawk. He was a wolf during the nighttime hours, and she was a hawk during the day. And they were in love, and so they were cursed so that they would never, they just got glimpses of each other at twilight and dawn as the hours changed, as they were transforming, one into human, one into animal form. They were never human together. They had to defeat the curse. I don't remember how it ended. I don't remember how they defeated the curse, but it had Matthew Broderick in it, a very young actor at that time, and I think they called him Mouse in that movie. My husband watched it a lot, so I watched it with him sometimes. And we loved Matthew Broderick from that movie. And here's the final one, Vintage Life. And this is the one I think is my favorite out of this batch. Lots of vintage items collaged together. And I don't remember what else is done in this book. First chapter is style. Look at that. All those beautiful colors of book covers. They're on the shelf. So it's nice to collect an item and group them all together like this. One or two or even 3 books wouldn't be that impressive, but to have a whole collection. And then these silhouettes, these vintage silhouettes, collected together and brought together into a collage makes much more impact. This is an antique store. My sister one of my sisters went to visit her son this weekend. And she said in our text, our message, what do you call it? Our chat group on Messenger. She said that they were, at that moment, they were in a big antique store. I was like, oh man, I want to go there. And then probably because I got that and, you know, internet feeds off itself. Just today, I saw a picture on my Facebook feed of a large antique store in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, which is where she is. It was just the outside of the store. It didn't show inside. So I bet that's where she was. I just love looking at this stuff. Cards of bright colored buttons, aprons, oh, the fabrics. Looks like they made some, oh, handkerchief origami. They made dresses out of handkerchiefs. I probably had to starch them first. Look at these cards with the buckles and the buttons that match. Beautiful. Pillows that are made to look like buttons. This person does photography that looks vintage, but they're not vintage. This one lives in Finland. Look at all those cups. It's quite a collection of cups. French General. Now that is a brand. Nichols used to sell some French General stuff. I bought something on clearance. That was the first time I'd ever heard of French General. Years and years ago. I don't remember what it was, but I do remember the name. That's cute. It's something you hang on the wall made out of cloth, and it's got little ribbon corners, like a pocket, photo corner, and tucked cards in there. There are loops for hanging threads and scissors, and the loops are attached with buttons. Just button it up there, unbutton it to open it, and some pockets to hold some supplies, and some larger pockets. It has pom-pom and a small embroidery hoop in there. That is really cool. Nice way to decorate your wall, hang that up on your wall, and store some supplies in it, because the supplies are part of the decoration. It's usually warmer down here than it is upstairs. My main floor is cold. The upper floor and this floor are warmer for some reason, maybe because it doesn't have the drafty porch doors, front and back doors. Anyway, it's cold down here today. My hands are cold. It's pretty chilly outside because it said the feels like temperature is like 2 degrees, and that was this afternoon. So it was probably colder than that this morning. I did go to church though. Look at the dolls. If you think they're creepy, I could be with you on that. But I like dolls, but sometimes they can be creepy. But this little field of doll faces in flowers, I think that's a little bit creepy. But fun. These are so fun. Look at the deer. I love deer, especially these vintage ones. I have some vintage deer that I bought at a flea market, and I love them so much. Some swans. I want to go to the flea market. I want to go to an antique mall again, like I did with my friend Debbie. We haven't done that in a while. A gumball machine full of different colored dice. Tickets, figurines, all the good stuff. Bingo card. Well, look what she did with a bingo card and a doll face. That could go on the cover of a journal, but not inside it. There's a bunch of them here, made with decorated with doll faces. These are little buttons that would clip onto a pocket, little metal buttons, like a pin, really. So much fun. Junk bonanza. Squirrel Vintage Shop. That's a good name for me anyway, when I'm at a flea market or something. I could be looking at something and then something gets my attention and I'm like, squirrel, gotta go check that out. Such fun colors. These are the travel stickers that we used to get them and put them on our camper when we were camping when I was a kid. It shows where you've been. And the little felt banners, pencils, like, souvenir pencils, some vintage cars, little toy cars, rickrack and trims. Love this stuff. Tins of lard. So this is a modern girl dressing up in vintage clothes with vintage hairstyles and makeup. This is vintage style makeup for today's woman. So it's designed to make you look like you lived in the 40s or 30s. So this must be the fashion section, fashion and beauty section. Victorian life. This looks like college. They made a circle, probably just for the photograph, but it's those felt banners to advertise different places that you've been or colleges. Some wooden crates with advertising on them, planters, suitcases, globes. Theater of Dreams. I would love to go into some of these places and really poke around. Oh, look at the beautiful embroidered pieces, trims. They have them in these drawers with an applique on the outside to show what's in each drawer. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This is part of that theater. Donna Flower Vintage. Look at that beautiful dress. I've got to speed it up. Stitched and Found. A photographer and new mom selling old quilts. Wow, that's a fun hunt. I'm getting more vintage stuff in my house as decorations. I have some things down here and a few little things in my kitchen. I have a vintage quilt on my bed now. I have to go through my house and see what I actually have that's vintage. Oh, I've got canisters, tin canisters, on top of my cupboards in my kitchen. New old books. Now look, Gina Johnson. I did not know she was in here. That's the Rebookery. Oh, it says right there, the Rebookery. Oh my gosh. I have 2 of her books. Wow. I began scrapbooking, and while I loved the hobby, I felt that it was too sterile. I wanted to figure out a way to marry both the physical aspect of memory keeping, photos, memorabilia, and stories, with the more abstract part, feelings and emotions. So these are some of the journals that she has made. And this is one of her booths. She would take her items and sell them. So that's a booth. And she influenced my style quite a bit. Paper dolls. The journals I make always include something from the past, whether it is my great-grandma's Dresden plate quilt blocks or my Grandma Neva's collected felt. She does include a lot of, she's always talking about my grandma or my great-grandma and my aunt as she's putting things into journals. She's got a stack of books here that have been changed into journals, I'm sure. Well, that was a fun surprise. So this person takes, Amy Duncan, she takes vintage items and makes collages with them. Shadow boxes and whatnot. Love this one. Bingo cards on some slatted wood. I know I'm taking longer with this book, but like I said, it's my favorite. We're going to go over 45 minutes probably. Ephemeral artwork. So small pieces of paper that she turns into a piece of art. Lots of little trinkets here. We've got seed packets, German scrap. These little look like Japanese circles. Maybe they're cut out of Japanese comic books. I can't really tell. And they're upside down too. and Chinese here. No, maybe that's Japanese. I don't know. Handkerchief vases. So using old handkerchiefs onto ceramics. Wow, that's beautiful. Toys as sculpture. I remember those dogs. I don't think we had one, but there might have been one in our church nursery. There's a stack of books here. Look at that. All those toys. There's Bambi and Thumper. Some Disney characters over here. Non-traditional books. Beautiful quilting. She makes paper quilts. I procure paper quilt squares and elements at estate sales, thrift stores, and the occasional dumpster dive. Fun. I like these metal plates here. Mono-printed undergarments. So I guess these are the art pieces. Bauhaus. Rubber stamps. Cameras. Poster stamps. So these are stamps that are replicating old posters. That's fun. I love the art on old posters. Chocolate box bindings. Beautiful. Look at those bindings. I didn't know they were called chocolate box bindings. They're from France and they have an equally appealing name, chocolate box bindings. Cartonnage romantique. These books, predominantly with text for children, were mass-produced in France between 1840 and 1870. Old books. These look much like Reader's Digest books, but I don't recognize any of the patterns. Vintage clothing, crochet hangers, and pot holders. These are some of the items that I have in my kitchen. A couple of crochet dresses, but they're colored. And there's another crochet piece that hangs right with the dresses. Dachshunds. Anthropomorphic egg cups. That would be a fun thing to collect. Because they're small. You could display them in your kitchen maybe. Enamelware and tinware. I don't know why. I love them. I guess because they look like farmhouse pans. Greetings and gift wrap. You know how I feel about this stuff. Look at on her wall behind her. I have a collection of these little doll cards. Some of them are Hallmark. That one's definitely a Hallmark, and I have that one. But some of them are not Hallmark, but I just love them and I collect them. They're in my office upstairs right now, and I would like to put some narrow shelves on the walls in my office and just stand them up on the little shelves. picnic tins. I love old metal lunch boxes too. Love the colors there. These look like maybe cake toppers. They're brides and grooms. This caught my eye as I turned the page. The teal and the pink together. Love it. Yeah, those are wedding cake toppers. Street nameplate, sewing ducks. I've never heard of a sewing duck. Makes sense though. The scissor blade forms the beak. Tatting shuttles. Tea towels. Tiny toy televisions. Well, that's a unique thing to collect. Look at that whole wall full of tiny toy televisions. How fun. Must be they were touristy collectibles. That's from Jersey. Wonder if it's Jersey in England. This looks like it has a German name on it. Santas. Aprons. And Pyrex. I know a lot of people collect Pyrex. Millinery florals and birds. That can be pretty expensive. The millinery flowers I have are usually pretty squashed and they're not in great condition, but I love them for using in junk journals. That's it. Those are the books that I have, and I will once again link the uppercase site that sells where you can order these books, and you can order their magazine too. You can get both back issues and you can get subscriptions. So I hope that you enjoyed this one as much as the first one, and we went a little over, but that's okay. It'll still upload. I keep my videos around 45 if I can. But I'll be back with another video. I don't know what it'll be because I don't have a project in the works right now, but except for organizing in here. But I'll be doing something, and I'll see you then. Have a creative day. Bye.